Arguably the biggest game of the regular season, maybe not in terms of standings, in terms of division title, number one seed, but in terms of Super Bowl preview, arguably two of the best teams in the league, Lions, Bills. But before we jump into this week, Mike, Lions, Packers, you called it. Jake Bates, game-winning field goal. That's how we ended the last time we spoke. You said 3-point win. Jake Bates was going to walk it off. Kudos to you because I was sitting there watching that. It's like Mike told us how this was going to go down.
Yeah, it was a little bit higher scoring than I thought it was going to be. I think I had 2017 was the score, but yeah, that's it just made sense with the Lions having the defensive issues that they were having with health and the Packers kind of offense was just kind of coming on at the right time. It made sense that whoever had the ball last was going to win this game, and the Lions did that, and I mean, what an unbelievable final drive that was.
The Lions defense has been so good all year, but you hit a point just depth wise where it's going to catch up to you eventually. I think we saw that in the second half of the Bears game and then for a majority of the Packers game. And I think a lot of Lions fans agreed with Dan Campbell going forward on fourth down because yeah, you don't want to give the ball back to the Packers up against a depleted defense at that point. Coming into this Sunday, who can Lions fans expect to get back as this team continues to get a little bit healthier?
Well, it's looking really good. Taylor Decker was back at practice yesterday. He's practiced again, obviously today as well. Full practice for both days, so that's huge. DJ Reader, he's coming along. He was at practice. He was kind of doing things off to the side. We don't really know how that's going to shake out quite yet, but it looks like both Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike should be back for this game. So those are really the two big ones. Ali McNeil went out with a concussion last week. He is out of protocol now. He'll be able to play on Sunday as well. So they're getting healthy at the right time, and as time continues on, they're going to continue to get more guys like Anzalone and some of those guys back. So this is the time to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely, and just getting those guys back is huge. And going forward now, whether it be the Bills game or any other game for the rest of the season, in your opinion, is there anything to worry about with the defense, or is it just the fact that they were playing Jamal Adams and Quan Alexander, who were on their couch a week prior, and they had no choice but to throw these guys into action immediately.
I came away encouraged by the way that the Lions defense played in this game. I know the score looked close, but the Packers had two possessions that were just kind of given to them in the red zone by the Lions. One by the interception from Goff, and then the other was a turnover on downs that the Lions, probably shouldn't have gone for, but did anyways. Other than that, the Packers were 1 for 5 on third down. They completed just 60% of their passes. It wasn't like this was a great game for them. I know some Packers fans want to believe that they should feel good after this game, but I don't personally think they should. I think they got lucky a few times, but uh, that's very encouraging considering that this defense was a mash unit just pieced together with ragtag group of misfits type thing, and they were able to do that to a Packers offense that's been surging lately. So with guys coming back healthy and so some of these guys that were brand new to the team having an extra week and a little bit even more than a week, 11 days to get ready for this game, I think this defense is going to be much better in this one.
And you mentioned the fourth downs in there, and ever since that game, that's been a topic of conversation. I feel like when a team starts to dominate the way the Lions are, anyone, especially the national media, likes to find nitpicky, picky things, and especially Campbell is so unique in that aspect that yeah, he's gonna go for it on fourth down, very similar to how I play Madden, but it's worked out a lot in his favor. And yes, it's a type of thing that, when it doesn't work out, like it did when the Lions were pretty deep in their own territory, it does come off, looking a little silly. It's a thing that looks genius when it does work out, like it did at the end of the game. What are your thoughts on how aggressive Campbell has been? And this is nothing new. This is the way he coaches.
Yeah, I think, Jared Goff spoke with the Amazon crew after the game, and the biggest thing he pointed out was that it just shows how much that Dan Campbell believes in them. And we always talk about stats and all this athletic ability, but like the belief is a huge, huge thing because when you have that, you, you feel like you can do anything. And when your coach believes in you, you feel good about that. And you feel like you have more control over what can happen with this team. And the interesting thing is, the Lions were going to kick a field goal at that point. That was the initial plan. And Jared Goff went to the sideline. He talked to Campbell, and he was kind of like, yeah, man, like I think we could get this. And then Campbell said, "You want to go for it? Like, let's do it." But he threw a couple swear words in there too. But they went for it. He believed in his team in that moment, and it absolutely worked. And yeah, it could have gone badly, but I think when you know that you can move the way that you can move, when you have this offensive line that you have, I would have done it too. I don't see anything wrong with what Campbell did on that last play, on the last drive.
It worked out perfectly because you finish it off. Now the Packers are a bit buried in the NFC North. It's really Lions and the Vikings who sit a game back. You also have the Eagles a game back for the conference title. I found it interesting. That was brought up this week to Campbell in the press conferences and whatnot because normally a team sitting 11-1 is on cruise control and probably does close to having the division and the conference locked up. But the Lions here, they can't catch a break from the rest of the teams, playing the Vikings and the Eagles.
Yeah, that's it's good though. And like you mentioned Campbell talking about it earlier this week, it's this is the thing. This is the thing that keeps you going. Like you got to stay ahead. You can't relax. You need to make sure that you stay ahead of the Vikings and the Eagles at all costs. And yeah, and I totally agree with him. I think it's a huge, huge thing to have that kind of just that momentum pushing you from behind, as well as, your own internal desires to get this done, to win this championship and get the first seed and all this. Yeah, it's I think it's great too. I would also as a fan would love to see them lose, but I think from a strategic point of view, it is yeah, it's understandably good. But I think this is a big week because the Steelers are playing the Eagles. We know the Steelers are a pretty good team. And then the Seahawks against the Packers at home. That's another one. And then the Seahawks have the Vikings next week, too. I think we all need to be Seattle fans basically for the next 2 weeks. And I think good things could happen.
It's just put a larger emphasis on every game, but I don't think it's hard to not put a giant emphasis on this Sunday. The word Super Bowl preview, you've heard it all week. You'll probably hear it on Sunday. Is that getting ahead of ourselves to say that this game could be a preview of maybe the two teams we see in 2 months in New Orleans?
No, I don't think so at all. I think this is very well your Super Bowl matchup right here. I mean, yeah, anything can happen in the playoffs, and we know that, but like this is the one that everyone wants. This is what everybody wants to see. And if even if it's not, like this has everything you want to be just an amazing game. It's on at a great hour. It's two unbelievable teams, number one and two in offense, two good defenses going up against each other as well. Like this is what football is all about, man. And I think this is also probably when you look at the remaining schedule across the entire landscape of the NFL, this is probably the biggest and best game left on the whole slate until you get to the playoffs. So yeah, this is a huge one. Plus, I think there's some MVP implications here as well. Not implications, but you know what I'm trying to say. Uh, I think, obviously Allen is kind of the number one favorited guy right now per like at Bet MGM, DraftKings, all those guys have Allen number one. Goff is 3 and 4 in those areas. The Goff can go out there and the Lions can win this game. I think you could see a jump from him to, that number one spot if he has a great game and they win and there could be an NFL MVP here in Detroit at the end of the year.
I was actually going to bring that up because Allen is the clear front runner right now. It doesn't matter where you look, it doesn't matter who you talk to, but when you look at the stats, Goff's stats are better in every single category. He's thrown, I believe, five more interceptions. Josh Allen has the rushing yards that Goff does not. But when you talk about completion percentage, passing yards, passing touchdowns, that's all Goff. Do you think even in that, 3 or 4 spot, you're talking you Allen, Saquon Barkley, Lamar Jackson, and Goff are kind of the four right now. Even being in the top four, is Goff still being underappreciated? Because you look at his numbers and it feels like he should be higher in the conversation.
That's kind of the thing with golf. It's always been he's just not exciting. Like he's not, Josh Allen, every time you watch that guy, you're going to see a Sports Center top 10 highlight play at some point in the game, maybe two. You just don't get that from golf. You just get, pure, I'm going to go out there and hit my receivers and I'm going to be quiet about it. And that's just what he does. I think that receiving touchdown he had against Seattle is probably the craziest thing he's done this year. But when it comes down to it, if he, I don't believe in the whole quarterback wins thing, but the voters do, and if the voters see him beat Josh Allen, like they're going to see that as, I mean, that's an MVP guy right there. Plus, 12 of the last 15 MVPs have all just been the quarterback of the number one seeded team in one of the conferences. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is playing all that well right now. I think this just has to be Goff if that's the route that it goes and they win this game. I don't see how you could not give him the MVP unless Saquon breaks the record. That's another thing that you have to watch.
So you have two really good offenses going head to head. We know the Bills' offense is dynamic. They scored 42 points in LA on Sunday, but they lost.
Yeah.
I don't think, I didn't expect the Bills to be coming into this week, on a, after an L. They gave up 44 points. What did the Rams do to kind of thrash through that Bills defense? And is there anything the Lions can take away from, what their old buddy Stafford was able to do on Sunday?
Yeah, I think they just had a really hard time with Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford, and I watched that game and I kind of came away thinking, man, like this could be a Jamison Williams type game where he could just kind of they can rely on that speed and kind of get downfield, stretch the field a little bit, and make some things happen. I think that was really the big thing. Is and, the Bills obviously did like start to come back near the end of the game. So that I think they just had a rough and slow start, but I think we definitely learned that they can be beaten. They can be scored on a lot, but you still have to never take your foot off the gas pedal against this team because they can very well come back and they could have won that game.
And then, on the flip side, their offense is so good. You have to worry about everything that comes with Josh Allen, James Cook, Amari Cooper. What do the Lions need to do to slow down the Bills' offense and not even, stop them completely, but just slow them down enough to give the offense a chance to do what it needs to do to get the win?
Yeah, I think the big thing for this game is going to be something the Lions have been pretty good at this year, and that's time of possession. Just get on the ground, get the ball, get the run game going, make sure that you can hold on to that ball as long as you can, limit the Bills' opportunities on offense. There's only so much you can do against Josh Allen. You can hope that you can get to him, but it's never easy. He's going to get mobile. He's going to make some crazy throws, and some of them are going to work out, and others are not. But just make sure that you don't give him the ball as much as you possibly can, and I think that's the game they look to play.
Shootouts in the NFL really, don't happen as often as they used to. We saw it in LA on Sunday, that 44-42 game. You have the number one offense against the number two offense. Do you expect it to be a shootout? Do you think there'll be a little more defense, or is it just going to be, like the Packers game, last one to have the ball is going to win?
I think it's going to be pretty similar to that Packers game. I think it'll be more of a defensive challenge than last week was for the Bills, and I think that they're going to buckle down after that game. Nobody wants to give up 44 points two weeks in a row. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than that and a lot smaller. Maybe not a lot smaller, but a little bit smaller. I'm going to go with Lions winning 35-32.
All right, this is going to be a good one. Lions still fighting for the NFC North, the number one seed, potential Super Bowl preview. Like you said, Mike, this is everything you could want in a football game. We'll catch up with you next week. Hopefully, talking about the Lions still on their league high win streak.
I hope so. We'll see.